This is Kitten Features, and you're listening to ShowX Live with Ken in his student accommodation all the way in Scotland, and Wade in his white windowless van? Uh-oh, I better get out of here. Enjoy the show!
Hey everybody, and welcome to ShowX on VtWProductions.com. Oh, you're listening live at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. GMT on this Sunday, the 20th of January, 2019. Wow, I gotta get used to saying that.
Yeah, it's weird.
And I say this, and for whatever reason, I don't have your view coming up. Let's see. How can I get this? Blink.
But all our listeners are here just to look at me. I mean...
Well, that is an important aspect of the show.
I mean, we're probably going to lose 50% of our fan base within the first minute now.
All right, so I'm going to try to figure out how to get Ken back here, because I was like, wait a second. I had this all set and going before. Now it decided to suddenly not. I wonder if there are updates or things while I was out that I might have missed.
Cupcheck H2O Happy Dude in the IRC in the chat says, yeah, Ken's got a face for radio anyway. And then he does a lol face from TB. Thank you very much for that, Cupcheck. Ban him from the channel, please.
Here, just a second. I'm going to recall you, Ken, so that I can see if I can get this back on here for everybody else. Because, like I said, I don't know why and for how this did not work. That it should be there. Kick that on. All right, good. Good. All right, that shall be good. Then I'm going to reduce the sound so hopefully you don't hear me calling him as we get there and kick it on again. So... Alright, now we have Ken back at least there, so can I pull him up here?
And Wrath says, yeah, Ken's... sorry, Wrath says, no Ken, unsub. You promote him in the chat.
Oh, that's
Hando
funny.
says the show needs 100% more Scottish beard. He's already promoted in the chat, so send them Steam gifts.
Nice. Let's see. Somehow I'm going to figure out, because I had this all working before with the external video piece, the NDVI, or NDI, but it seems to be, I don't know what, today, as to why I cannot see you. I may have to do the, janky force it like you did for me.
Do this. It's not a big deal. I mean...
Oh, I know, but still, it's...
I know it's what the people want, but... Our voices will have to soothe them.
What the people want. Let's see. Not only that, it looks like the... Where is it? The chat, oddly enough, looks like it's...
also not working, yeah.
Link changed. And so I'll have to... Let's see, do I always have the new one still in there? I think I do.
Well, it's a good thing I've been reading out the chat then, because that'll cover that.
So the chat, I think the update will work. There we go. The chat's good. Or it should be up to date now. But I will figure out the video stuff. Yay, there we go. Good. Chat is fixed. Right. But go ahead, kid. Yes, while...
All right, so while you get all that sorted, I want to give a shout, actually, because for those who don't know, our good friend Octail has started a new podcast. We just found it ourselves. It's called Bots and Cats, and here is the Twitch link in chat. So both those in the video can see this, and those in chat. Yeah, bots and cats. I don't know. I believe it's Octail himself and his wife, Mistress of Giggles, doing a podcast, a talk show, 2 hours. I believe it's 2 hours directly before our show. So if you want to have a nice Friday night of fun, what I recommend is you listen to... I say night. It's night here, right? I recommend what you do is you listen to their show. Directly beforehand, Bots and Cats on Twitch, and then you swap over to ShowX right afterwards. So check them out. It's good to see Todd doing more podcast stuff, because he's the man with this kind of thing. He's got a great voice for radio. So it's always good to see him doing stuff. And who doesn't love Mog? Who doesn't love Mog, right? It's good to see them doing stuff. They also have a Twitter account, Bots Cats, BOTSCATS. So you can follow them there as well. We'll give them a retweet so you can check out our channel, and then so on. Yeah, they're right before us, Cupcheck. He's asking if they're right before ShowX. Oh, I don't even wake up on time for you guys as it is. You can probably listen to their I don't know if they have a YouTube or what, but or you can probably listen to their featured thing on Twitch or however that works. Twitch still confuses me greatly, so I don't really know. But check them out. Give them a follow and stuff. And I imagine it's going to be awesome. I don't know what the theme is. I don't know if it's gaming or sports or what. But anything that Todd speaks about is going to be enjoyable. So check out.
Absolutely.
Right. So yeah, I can see the chat is working perfectly fine now. My camera's not. But let's just continue on with the show.
No, I did the thing you did, and so I forced it on there. And we'll figure out more later. So
right.
I just got it together. So. We'll figure this out in the future. I don't know what happened to that. I might have to reinstall the NDI stuff. Regardless, there we go. Alrighty.
Oh, yeah.
So, everybody, as we now are getting back into the actual show, let's go ahead and start things off with a little bit of
Dysfunctional Deviations.
So, today on Dysfunctional Deviations, Ken, what have you been up to that hasn't been geek this week?
Oh, well, a whole ton of stuff. And I'm not even sure where to begin, to be honest. So teaching started again this week, so I had to put on my teacher hat. Now, unlike all the previous semesters where I've been, okay, it's a little bit convoluted, and I'll try not to get too bogged down here. Originally, I was only ever a teaching assistant, so I helped out with classes. I'd walk around and help out. Over the years, I got promoted to lead teacher, which meant that I would be in charge of the class, but not in charge of the module. I then got employed by Into, which is a nearby organization attached to the University of Stirling, and I was given a module coordinator status. So I was in charge of the whole module. I wrote exams, etc. But it wasn't university. It was kind of pre-university, right? It's for people who want to get into uni from foreign countries and they want to get into uni in Scotland, and it helps them get qualified, right? That's kind of the idea. And if it's of sufficient quality, they can actually skip their first year of their degree as well, which will save them some money in the long run, which is good. And I stopped working there at the end of last month. And this month, I have begun my new role where I'm now teaching 60% of a module at university. So while I'm not a lecturer, I haven't earned that position, obviously not, because you need to be you need to have got your PhD and have spent like 5-10 years in the field. So I'm way, way away from that, right? But I have picked up some of the responsibilities of a lecturer in the sense that I'm now going to be doing exam marking, writing lectures, doing lectures, practicals, tutorials, all the stuff that's involved that a lecturer would do without the title and without the experience to do so. So it's just a first year one, so it's nice and easy. But it's nice to have that kind of experience because it'll help my future career, right?
Nice.
And it's also a lot of fun. I've not done my first lecture yet, but I'm looking forward to it. I've got about 25 lectures this semester to do. Each of them are an hour long, but it's funny because I've always said this show helps so much with that, right? The show helps an astronomical amount with teaching because if I had to stand in front of a group and talk for an hour, I'm like, yeah, I can do that. They're like, most people are like, well, have you prepared for like 5 or 6 hours? Have you gone over it again and again? And I'm like, no, I just kind of wing it. And they're like, what? You're crazy. I'm like, I have a little bit of experience elsewhere with this kind of thing. That kind of helps.
Hey, it's always, if you know your material at least to the point, right, then you should be able to just talk through it however you need.
Yeah, I mean, that's first year, right? I mean, like...
I like how you're like, it's so easy. Who needs to even worry about it? First year, man.
Well, I get it. If you are a first year, it's a difficult thing. And it was a difficult thing for me as well in first year, right? Of course it is. But, if you finish that degree and then you're working on your next one, you've almost finished that one too. You're looking back and you're like, oh yeah, first year. I remember that, right? It's not a thing. When you use the tools of a trade every single day, something that's complex to somebody else it suddenly becomes fairly easy to you. So anyway, I'm looking forward to doing all the teaching. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it started this week, but my actual lectures don't begin for 2 weeks yet. But other teaching starts this coming week, so I'm going to be quite busy.
Nice.
I'd like to give a shout out to Kopii because it is her birthday in the UK anyway.
Well, it's one of those things. As you say,
in 4.5 hours.
As she is getting ready to celebrate her birthday here coming on, big shout out to Miss Kopii, the original Kopii. Because she has probably been one of our longest supporters of the show and is a good friend of us all. And so, since I don't do this often enough, this one's for you, Miss Kopii. Preemptively, a little bit of a happy birthday, Mrs. President. Happy birthday to you. So for everyone out there, as you don't know, check out Miss Kopii and give her all the love, all the gifts, all the things like that. Check out her Steam profiles and send her gifts and things like that. It is always much appreciated. We very much like having Kopii around us.
We embrace her in our community, for she is one of us. One of us, one of us. The best of happy birthdays to you, Miss Kopii. You are much beloved by everybody here. We enjoy your company, and we enjoy your chat, and we enjoy your squeals of celebration every time a cat jumps onto your lap. I think I made that into a poem or haiku by mistake there, but regardless. Happy birthday, Kopii. I hope you have a great one. I will be getting you a gift as soon as I'm paid, because I'm poor as crap after Vegas. So give it a week, and then I'll give you a gift, okay?
Yay, travel. Yeah.
And I encourage everybody else to do so as well. Kopii is one of the kindest people in our community. She gives so many gifts. Whenever she gets paid, the first thing she thinks is not, oh, I'm going to go buy myself stuff. She thinks, oh, I'm going to go give gifts to all the people I know. She is so sweet. So be sure to inundate her with a ridiculous number of gifts on Steam and elsewhere. She deserves it. So other than that, oh geez, what have we done to this week? I've got a hell of a story to tell. It's not gonna get too dark. It's only a little dark. I like bringing the darkness to
Well,
the
see,
show
I was gonna
sometimes.
say, depending on what the discussion is each time. Yeah, Ken, what you
Trust
gonna
me,
hit
it's
us
not,
with?
there's no homelessness in this one. It's good fun.
Okay.
Okay, so I've said before, I do my. Before I stroked my ego, right, talking about lecturing and stuff, and I love that stuff. So I do all this teaching. I generally speaking, I've had 2 jobs throughout my PhD on top of my PhD, right? So a PhD is a full-time endeavor, and generally speaking, I've had 2 part-time jobs on top. Either some of it I was working in a pub, some of it I was doing tutoring, some of it I was doing working in just general teaching, and then we're teaching in a different organization as well. I've always had 2 jobs on top of the PhD. And that means that generally speaking, if I'm supposed to do 40 hours just for my PhD, and then maybe 10 hours for each of the other things, I do a minimum of 60 hours. And then you get to see your friends and family on top. And I also have to look after dogs. And life's a stressful thing, right? And I'm the kind of person that I've always felt like my mind thrives in stress.
Okay.
I always enjoy stress. I really do. I like to have my days filled to the brim with planning and scheduled events, and I'm always rushing from here to there to do things and see people, and it's my way of living life to the fullest. I invest my time wisely in the things that I care about, and in the hopes that my future life will be easier. Right? I think that's the reason everybody works. Right? You work not for the next month. You work to make your life overall easier and better. That's the whole idea, right? What's the point otherwise? Now, my mindset is great for my mind. It is not so good for my body, as it turns out. Stress is something that doesn't just affect your mind. My conscious mind says, yeah, bring it on. I'm loving it. Let's keep going. Let's do more. I'll say yes to all the things. I want to keep doing it. I want to be I want to be the guy. I want to be the guy that is here to fix the problems and do the things. Sadly, my body cannot keep up with my mind. This piece of crap body just can't do it. I feel betrayed by my own body. And I really do wish at the moment that I could just cut out my brain and lob it into a big lumbering robot body, or maybe even just like a vat full of like fluids that have cables attaching to my brain and maybe a camera so I can see and communicate with the world. That would be fine with me. But sadly, none of that's really much of a choice. Now, the reason I say all this preamble, is that on, I think it was Wednesday, I had a series of heart pains, chest pains. This is very unusual for somebody who's 27 years old, right? This is not something I think anybody would say that if you're having chest pains as a 27-year-old, you've either got indigestion, or you're faking it, or you're just an idiot and you're feeling something else, right? It's just not a thing. It's very rare to feel actual heart pains when you're 27 years old. And I'm fairly healthy. I'm not the healthiest. I'm currently drinking after all, and that says something, right?
Drinking healthy, yeah.
I've never been the healthiest person, but I'm also far from the least healthy. I think I'm a good average. I don't do much exercise. I walk the dogs every day. And I eat fairly healthy. I suppose a pescatarian diet does help. But in the end, I could always eat healthier. I could certainly exercise more, and that's that. So it's quite surprising that I had these chest pains. So I was sitting in my office, and a little bit of backstory. The past few weeks, I've been having these chest pains. Past 2 months, maybe, on and off. They've been very, very minor. They've been a case of like, oh, that's uncomfortable, and it's passed. Okay, let's move on with life, and I'll try not to worry too much about that. That was probably just, something, I don't know. Sometimes you get aches and pains, and they pass after like a second. You don't think about it, right? It's not worth mentioning. I think everybody has random aches and pains, so I didn't really think much about it. This Wednesday, it lasted for about 7-8 minutes, and it was like a tightness, and it was uncomfortable. And I started feeling my pulse, and my pulse felt fine. I felt nothing wrong with it, but this pain was just still there, aching away. I'd say a 4, maybe on the pain scale, 4 out of 10. It wasn't the most painful thing. It wasn't blinding, but it did kind of take my breath away occasionally. So, having done a first aid course, I kind of knew what to do. I know I was supposed to call for help in this situation, but I was like, I know I'm 27. I know it's not a heart attack. So I'm not gonna panic about that. So I got down off my office chair. I lay on the floor. Thankfully, my office mates were not in at the time because they'd have panicked like hell, or probably kicked me and called me an idiot. No, they probably would have called for help. They're good people. So I lay down on the floor and I put my feet up on the chair. And I lay there for a while, and I closed my eyes, and it passed. And that was when the 7-minute mark kind of passed. I was like, okay, I feel okay, everything's fine. I lay there for a few more minutes just in case. I got up, everything's fine. So I called the doctor, my local doctor, and I said, hey, I'd like to have an appointment with my general practitioner, my GP. And the other person on the line said, okay, we got something free next Friday. And I went, that's 9 days away. You have to remember, this is the first week of university. The doctors, the dentist, every local service will be inundated with foreign and local students signing up and getting their health checked and yada, yada, yada. So it's a super busy time. They said, alternatively, I can show up to the open hour in the morning. And I was like, even if I get there, there's no chance of me being seen. And I felt like it was kind of more urgent than that. I didn't want to call an ambulance, but I also did want to get this seen today. So I said, look, I think I have some kind of angina, which just means pain in the chest, really. That is probably heart-related, maybe a lack of blood going to the heart, that kind of thing. And she said, oh, okay. We can slot you in at 5 o'clock for an urgent appointment. So I say, okay, that's great. Hour and a half later, I'm at the doctor's with Kitten Features, who very kindly came along. And I get checked out. They shave my chest. What the hell? They shaved my chest because they couldn't attach the EKG. So they had to shave me. Oh, God, I felt like a gorilla and specimen in a lab. Oh, man. So that was fun. And that's getting done. They get my EKG. They do some blood pressure tests. They ask me a whole bunch of questions. And the GP says to me, no, there's nothing. I don't see anything. This looks fine to me. However, judging by your symptoms, you were a little bit sweaty. You felt pains in your chest. You felt a tightness. That's like 3 out of 7 signs of a heart attack. That's not something we're going to take lightly. We're going to send you to the nearby big hospital, right? Not like a local practitioner. So They said, here's a letter. You take this in. You hand this to the desk. They'll be expecting you. They'll take you right into where you need to go. I was like, oh, okay. When's my appointment? They were like, now. You need to go now. I was like, oh, right. You are taking this seriously. Wow. Okay. They said, how are you going to get there? And I said, well, my car's right outside. I'll just drive there. And they said, you can't drive. We will not allow you to drive. Like I felt that moment like a mental patient being detained suddenly. I was like, oh, they do have the authority to stop me doing this, I believe. If a medical professional says you can't do something, it's kind of like they're gonna call in the big guns if I try and go ahead with this, aren't they? So I was like, okay, if you say so. That's annoying, but I understand it, right? If somebody's having heart pains and they have to go to the local hospital and they try to drive there. They have a heart attack on the way and like plow into somebody else's. Bit of a
liability, right? A little bit of a liability issue.
It's a little bad. So I managed to get a good friend of ours managed to procure us a lift and I get a lift to the hospital. So I arrive there, and they take my blood 3 frickin' times. I don't know about you guys, but nobody likes getting blood taken, right? It's not enjoyable, and I'm not afraid of it, but I certainly don't like it. So they take my blood 3 times, and because I'm so pale, I'm like pale for a Scotsman, right? I'm so freaking pale. It took about 20 to 30 times of pricking for them to find enough blood. I'm like a vampire. I don't have a heartbeat apparently. It's just not there. But they finally got some blood, and every single time this happens, I say to the nurse, like, "Oh, you're in for a challenge," and they're like, "Oh, I don't know. I've been doing this for 20 years," and every single time they're like, "Oh my god, where's your blood?" They're like trying both arms. They're considering trying my ankles or knees, and I'm like, "Oh god, I hate this. Getting stabbed again and again." The problems of being pale. You'd think it'd be easier to find my blood. I don't know.
Dude, that I don't know. I am always an easy draw apparently, but my veins like show out very well when I've been doing anything. It's not so bad right now, but normally you can just see the veins in my arms enough to Lieutenant Fork, the vampire that she is. Always I catch her staring on occasion whenever I see her. Like, stop looking at my veins. It's creepy.
I think that's called vasodilation. It's your veins go to the surface when you're working out, especially, so that they can. It's a way of your body releasing heat. Because if your veins are close to the surface, the blood has a lot of heat in it, and it'll release the heat into the atmosphere. Yeah, it's vasodilation. Sorry, random high school biology fact that I remembered.
Yeah, the things that you keep.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? So anyway, I go to the doctors. They take my blood a bunch of time. This is the real hospital, the big hospital. It was great. I got seen right away because they said that we don't take this thing kind of like, on the side. You're now under watch. So I had somebody watching me the whole time, which was a bit weird. They took my blood. They did an X-ray, my first ever X-ray, in my adult life anyway, which was good fun. It was so quick as well. They were like, "Okay, hold these 2 pegs here, and you're done. Okay, thank you. You can leave." I'm like, "Really?"
That's new. At least I haven't had one like that. Oh
yeah, it was a chest X-ray, so they must have properly seen everything in there. And it was pretty weird because they have this rule in radiology in the hospitals where you absolutely cannot walk there. They do not allow patients to walk. You have to get a wheelchair.
What?
And I was like, guys, I'm fine. It's just a bit sore. I've got a sore bit, right? It's just a sore bit. I'm fine. I can walk. And they're like, nope, it's absolutely critical that we do this. This is a hospital rule. You are not in charge. This is what happens. I'm like, okay, hands off, fine. So this like old porter, he's like 90, right? This old ass man. He's just old as balls. Comes over like shaking, pushing this wheelchair along, and I'm like, oh god. He's like, here you go, Sonny, and I'm like, oh, for God. There, I walk perfectly fine over, faster than he was walking. Get in the wheelchair, and he slowly pushes me back, and we have a chat about like all the strange people that he's have to wheelchair around over the years.
God, that can't make you feel good in a way that's like, wait, I feel like he's gonna pass before I get there.
Exactly, right? I was like, I should be carrying this man somewhere. Like why is he pushing me around in the wheelchair? Jesus.
That's hilarious.
So I got my X-ray done, got my blood taken. They did my blood pressure again. I got taken in for a consultation with like a specialist doctor as well, who asked me a bunch of questions. And he was very nice. And the great thing is this doctor was just sitting eating biscuits the whole time. He was just like eating like tons of biscuits.
Nice.
Like, so, do you have any heart problems in the past? And it really made me feel really calm because I was like, if this dude,
if he's
like,
chill enough, he's chill enough to sit there and be munching versus,
like if I was a doctor and I thought somebody's gonna have a heart attack, I'd be like standing there with the paddles, right, ready to go. This dude was just eating biscuits, so I was like, if he's calm, I'm calm. This is all good. There's no problem here. So they checked my blood. Now the reason they checked my blood, interestingly enough, they said that basically there's an enzyme in your heart that is released when your heart walls start to break down due to heart disease. So they can actually check for heart disease in the blood. They just see that how much of this enzyme is in your blood. And they said they couldn't even find a trace element in any of my blood tests. And yet they do several over the hours so that they can really make sure over time. And they found absolutely not even a single trace. So they said there's not even an inkling of heart disease. And I was like, that's fantastic. Good news. Okay, cool. I mean, it shouldn't be, right? So it's kind of obvious. The X-ray came back and they're like, not a dot. It all looks good, perfectly fine and healthy. But when I described all my symptoms to him, and I described my pain, I described where it was, and how he sort of looked at me and said, "What's your occupation?" And I said,
Oh no.
"I'm in the last 6 months of my PhD, and I also have a couple of side jobs that I do as well." And he's like, "Huh?" And he was like, "How many hours do you work a week on average?" I was like, "I wouldn't count it because it's more how many hours do I not work, right?
Ugh.
Like it's like when I sleep I don't work, and when I do my show on Sundays I don't work. Then a couple hours here and there I'll spend some time chilling out or whatever, walking the dogs. But otherwise I'm working. Like that's pretty much it." He said, "Right. So there's this thing called stress-induced angina." And basically, angina, like I mentioned it briefly in before, angina means okay. Let me change my description. There's actually the way your heart gets fed blood, there is an artery called the pulmonary artery, which feeds blood basically from the heart itself back into the heart to actually feed it blood, right? So the heart's pumping blood throughout your body, but it also needs its own blood supply. Now that blood supply also goes to the esophagus for in your neck, right? And it also goes into your lungs. So the most important things in your body really get a bunch of blood supply straight from the heart, a special direct amount of blood. Now, when you get really stressed, there is a very rare thing called stress-based angina, where that artery gets inflamed or irritated based on stress. So he's saying that when I'm feeling my heart pain, I am actually feeling heart pain. I am actually feeling the symptoms of what most people would think is a heart attack. And generally, angina, the normal angina usually means that artery is blocked somewhat, and that can eventually lead to a heart attack. But stress-based angina just means it's inflamed. It's not blocked. The blood supply is not being blocked off. However, it is irritated, and it can give you the symptoms of a heart attack. So it feels like a heart attack. So I have now felt kind of what a heart attack would feel like. And he says that this is not something that will kill me this is something that will not kill me so long as I stop the stress.
Gotcha.
If I learn to manage my stress, this will not kill me. If I go on, it's kind of a temporal thing. It's chronic stress, right? It's not just like, oh, I had a tough moment at work and now I'm too stressed and now I'm going to die. It's more like, oh, for the past 3 years, I've never released my butthole, right? it's kind of like,
it's kind of like when you're serving a prison sentence.
Yeah, right. It's like, yeah, exactly. It's like I've never stopped stressing over the years. And it's true. Like even when I'm on holiday, I'm sitting there thinking about work. I know I am. I know I'm doing it.
Why?
And for me, like I said, I've always enjoyed doing it. To me, it's a fun thing. I like being stressed. My mind loves it. My mind revels in the stress. But my body, I just can't do it. Dude,
our bodies remember all of the abuse we give it. And so, yeah, not overly surprising. I mean, it sucks, right? Because have you decided or have you come up with a plan now to mitigate or to adjust your lifestyle so as to not risk this again?
Well, it's difficult, right? Because, okay, if I took the next month off and I just put my ass down on the couch, put my feet up, played video games every day, had sex every night, I'd probably be more relaxed in some ways, right?
I'd hope.
But by the way, that's medical advice. That was medical advice. Have more sex. I was like, all right, if you say so. I'll tell my wife. Write my prescription.
Yeah, that's exactly that. I'm sorry, Kitten Features. I know this could be inconvenient, but doctor's order.
Doctor's orders. So while I think I would very much enjoy sitting playing video games all the time and chilling out and playing games, and the problem is that is stress to me because I'm not is unlike most jobs where you can just take time off when you're ill and you get paid for it, especially in the UK. We've got great coverage for this kind of thing for employment. When you're a PhD student, you don't have any cover in that sense. If you take a month off for illness, for grievance, say your dad dies, your wife dies, your dog dies, whatever. If you take time off, you don't take time out. You're still working towards that deadline of your PhD. You still only have X amount of years or months or weeks of funding. So when you get to the end of your PhD, that's that. If you had to take a year off due to the fact that your whole family died in a car crash, doesn't matter. You don't get extra funding. The government doesn't support you. The university won't support you. You're on a single deadline, and that's that. So if I decide to take a month off to relax, that's me stressing myself to the extreme because that means I've got a month left. That's a month less for my PhD, right? So for me to manage my stress, it's a problem of optimization, which thankfully is actually the topic of my PhD. I need to find a way of
I did this
relaxing.
optimization to save my life.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I need to relax enough.
Oh, that'd be great. How your PhD saved your life after almost killing you.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hey, that's a good book title, isn't it? I should really do
Right?
that. That'll be my autobiography. So even though I need to relax more, I in some ways I can't. So I need to find a way of working smart, not working hard. I think I've improved in that regard since undergraduate, and over the years you learn to do that more. You learn how to put yourself in the mode to work and put yourself in the mode to play. But I've forgotten the latter. I've only done the work thing. So I need to find a way of saying no to things that I've been asked to do occasionally. And I need to find a way of actually relaxing every day. And I think that means the biggest thing is when I come home at night, I shouldn't take my work with me. Take my work home with me every single night. I need to just do it occasionally, right? Or when I want to. I shouldn't feel obliged to do it all the time. I shouldn't worry about these deadlines as if my life's going to end if I don't meet them. And the truth is, as I stand right now, I'm going to pass my PhD. I have enough done. I could, as long as I write my thesis, I could finish up. But I'm also doing all this other work in terms of teaching. I'm also writing 2 papers right now for research because I want to enhance my chances of getting a good career afterwards. But in reality, all that is extra, and I need to remember that. So I just need to learn to chill. I just need to learn to take my time that I do have free and spend it wisely, spend it with my dog, spend it with my wife, spend it with my friends, online and offline, right?
Yeah.
So, in other words, expect me to game a bit more occasionally here and there because I damn well should be for my own sanity.
I was going to say, there needs to be a site or something that you type up with, your papers and everything else you're doing. That is essentially the discussion about how you manage these things. And honestly, I would love to see the thing that said something to the effect of like how gaming saved my life. Any of those kind of things, right? Or just stuff like that where like, medically speaking, this is why all the good things. But no, absolutely. I think everyone needs to focus on that a bit. I mean, I know in American culture, it happens in Japanese culture, and I think just a lot of the first world ones we have around us so I'm sure British culture as well, that having to bust your ass constantly, work hard to be able to, like you said, set yourself up for a better future is such a major motivator / what it turns into, stressor, in I think all our lives, that it is sometimes hard to remember how much we need to care for ourselves. I mean, you hear things or you see things on social media stuff where people talk about things like self-care. Now, a lot of them I don't know if people do enough talking about the real importance of it or what the goal is, but finding a time to truly relax, let all the stress go. I'm lucky in a lot of ways that in my career that I've chosen, I may suffer mass amounts of stress at work and a lot of coordination things I have to do. And mine is much more a binge and purge kind of, well, that's one way to put it. Mine has a lot of like peaks and valleys for amount of effort that needs to be put out at any given time. And so it can be kind of chill or kind of worrisome that you're looking for something to do at times and then follow up by never enough time in the day to get everything accomplished that you need to.
Oh crap, get this done now. Yeah,
yes.
Get this done 10 minutes ago.
And so that is a challenge, and everyone has those kind of stressors at work. For me, one of the benefits I've had for the career I'm in is that I can't bring it home with me. It's one of those kind of weird things where anyone's talking to me because I can't really discuss my work, and this is one of the rare times you'll hear me talk anything around it on the show, is that because of the nature of the things I do, I'm not allowed to share with people, and so I don't bring it home. I once I leave where I work, there's usually, now there's a little bit, but normally there's nothing I can do to affect what's going to happen tomorrow. And so I have trained myself that once I leave work doesn't exist for the most part.
That's good.
There's rare occasions when there's things I'll have to continue. In fact, with my own dysfunctional a little bit from this week that, I've out doing things for work as well, and such that causes me to travel and have to do other things here and there. But for the most part, when I leave what I'm doing, I'm done, and I get to go home and do other things. And so I think that's a thing that helps me. Now, granted, I think we also all run into a challenge, or at least I know I do, that a lot of times I don't let my hobbies and things I do outside of work really relax me like they should. I often treat things a little bit too much like a job sometimes. I've had that happen with the show and stuff where, heaven forbid, people have talked to me a lot about why don't you actively try to make your show a bigger thing and go out there and constantly market it and make it so that you are a constant streamer or something like that. And I've always said it's because I don't want it to ever be a job.
Now, this is awesome fun. This is a relaxing thing.
Yeah,
but what's better than hanging out with one of your best buddies on air and just chilling out with a bunch of friends, listening in and chat? It's a way of having an organized social event every single week. I think is awesome for that.
Yeah, it's kind of a forced socialization that way. Now, granted, I still have some, not necessarily stressors, but things around it that do make it not always the most relaxing, easy thing to do. Technical difficulties for anyone who's seen the show. I will tell you, those tend to come out as a bit of a stressor versus relaxation.
Yeah.
But even that's one of my challenges is that a lot of times when I'm trying to relax, I still cause myself to work. When I sit down and start to edit photos and do other things. Now, granted, lately I've forced myself as well to jump into, this is a little bit of any of my Geek Cred, but League of Legends games more often than I thought I would. ARAM is such just to do something, have some fun, and kind of relax. And so... but work-life balance is such an important thing to figure out. And Dakuro's been saying multiple times in the chat so far about, relaxation through meditation, things like that, a way to kind of sort things, which I do approve of heavily. And I've meditated a bunch in the past. I haven't done it for a while now, but it's a good chance to forcibly, but actively clear your mind, let go of things that have been stressing you, or find ways to kind of compartmentalize them and put them aside for a moment to give yourself a chance to just sort through it. And I think that's really powerful. Meditation is a great tool.
I have personally meditated for years. It's something that I've done since when I was about 14, I got really interested in Buddhism, and I bought a bunch of books online and read through them. And I realized that Buddhism as a religion, I find a pile of crap, to be honest. I really don't like all the spiritual stuff, and it's just like reincarnation and all this stuff that's just wishy-washy, made up crap, right? Like, however, all the stuff that talks about like the actual techniques for meditating, I love. I thought it was so interesting and a real technique, and it's a way of it's active thinking instead of passive thinking is the basis of it, really, isn't it? It's the ability to be able to sit down and say, this, okay, I get it. I'm actually going to consider things that I before instinctually place somewhere in my mind for later, or I instinctually make decisions based on just an initial feeling rather than actually thinking about them through. And I find that meditation is really good for that. And for me personally, the way that I've embedded meditation into my life is to learn to actively think on a daily basis. Not necessarily, it's not like the movie show, right? You don't sit down in a room full of candles and incense and some Chinese, Japanese music playing, and you're sitting there like this. Then you start floating in the air. It's more like, you have 5 minutes in your office, and you're like, okay, all my office mates have left. I've got a bit of time. I need to think about some stuff today. And you just sit there, close your eyes if you want to, and think for a little while. You can do it on the toilet. You can do it in your bed. You can do it in the car. You can do it on the bus. Meditation is a state of mind. It's not a state of where your body is.
There's different types of meditation. There's different goals from it. Some are simply for relaxation. Some are to accomplish or get through certain challenges or goals, things like that. But it is something, there's so many resources out there to do. And on top of that, and this is going to sound cliche as we're doing our little, advice for everyone's lives here at the top of the show, but the idea that, exercise and eating well and things like that, all of those things that you can do to take care of yourself help and allow things to just kind of find ways to process better. And so and for each person, it's personal. It's whatever you do that allows you to get into a place where you're actually finding some relaxation and enjoyment of life, and you're not stressing and suffering it. So whatever you need to do that. So I'll throw it out that way.
I don't know about you, but I find that whenever I meditate, even just for a short period, you have to get to, if you don't do it long enough, it doesn't quite work. You need to get to a certain level of thoughtfulness to achieve this. But it's not. I wouldn't call it a superpower, but it's just like an enhanced ability, cognitive ability, where for about an hour or 2 hours after meditating, just for a short period of time, I feel like I can think about things so much more clearly. Every little thing, little problems, I actively consider things instead of instinctively making decisions, and I love that. Now, before we continue on, I'd like to address the chat because we've had a lot of chat today, guys. I really do appreciate it. That's great. So a little while ago, when we were talking about all the heart stuff, I do not know how to pronounce your name. I'm going to put the threes as E's.
Legend
I'm going to call
Tinker.
it Legend Tinker, yes.
Yep, Legend Tinker.
So Legend Tinker says, my dad thought he was having a heart attack at a relatively young age, and apparently it turned out to be a severe reaction. He's extremely lactose intolerant, and the pain from the reaction was right in the same place a heart attack might be. So yeah, there's lots of reasons to have that feeling, right? Always take it seriously. Always go see your doctor. Even if you're super young, go see your doctor because that kind of thing shouldn't be screwed around with. Look up, if you're interested, look up sudden heart attack. It's a way where the super fit athletes get, and it's due to the fact they have a lack of fat around their heart. They actually have a heart attack because it runs out of energy to pull from. Like they'll still have energy going through their blood, etc. They still have glucose, etc. in their system, but the heart actually only runs on fat, unlike any other muscle in the body. So you need to have a level of fat in your diet, and if you're a supreme athlete, you're trying to reduce your fat levels. Some people go to the extreme, like Olympian level, and they can have this disorder where they have a sudden heart attack, and their heart stops because it has no more energy to function. And I think that's just mad. Being too fit can actually make you have a heart attack.
There are aspects of that as well, yeah, but that's like an extreme case.
Oh, absolutely, that's very rare. But my point is, it's always even if you're super fit, people can have a heart attack. That implying sort of even most people are not that level of fitness and should probably still care about that, right? There might be a chance you still have a heart attack. If the healthiest of us can have them, then surely not the healthiest can as well. Ken sure loves his description, old as balls, says Kopii. Yes, I do. It is a go-to normal measurement. And in fact, Wayne then says in the chat that is a proper Scottish measurement. Kopii then says there's imperial, metric, and Scottish. We only have one single word in Scottish, though. Old as balls. Also wrinkly as.
Well, that one's a little more... Both, I guess, are appropriate depending on context.
Yeah, that's true. Kuro says, seriously though, meditation is a great way to teach your brain how to switch things off. It is the best stress management method. I agree. I think it is, but I think it's not necessarily the traditional idea of meditation. I'd say take a modern approach. Active thinking, being in the moment can really... Because if you just analyze what is stressing you in your own mind, you can often alleviate that stress either by coming to solutions to the original problems or by realizing that it's not in your power to control. I absolutely adore the philosophy of Stoicism. Look up Marcus Aurelius, one of my favorite philosophers, or Epictetus. They have a lot of great quotes of Stoicism, and it's just this basic mindset of anything that is within my power, I will do that will help me. Anything that is not in my power but is a problem, I will let it go. Because in the end, what else can you do, right? If you're unhappy with who's president of the United States, do everything in your power, which is voting, which is talking to your congressman and picketing or whatever. But outside that, why stress yourself? Because in the end, it's all you can do. And I love that mindset, Stoicism. That's my go-to philosophy for life on this kind of thing. Kuro also says, sitting out on my deck with beer or
careful
coffee
as you sit on that.
Killing.
Don't sit too hard.
Yeah, don't sit too hard on it. Is really close to meditation. For those who don't get it, dick is how an Australian would pronounce deck. On my dick. Kopii says, I just let a different persona consume me and chill online like a badass. Although trade chat on Moonguard at 2 a.m. was hilarious. I don't think that's the best kind of meditation. Moonguard trade chat.
Hey, like I said, to each their own. As long as as long as it relaxes you, it's okay. But you have to be aware of whether you're actually being relaxed or if you're just falling into another type of stress. And so, but just because it doesn't...
At least I'm not insane like these people.
Hey, I'm not telling you, Ken, that the best relaxation is hanging out with a bunch of friends in furry suits, and letting the sweat drip down. But, like I said, to each their own.
Very true. Legend Tinker also says, for me, it's laying in bed, hands together in a certain way. It's hard to describe. and the right music playing in the background, and then I focus on breathing. Adiemus, my first album, the first album is my go-to meditation album. Nice. Yeah, when I was a kid, like about 6 years old up till 12, I used to really, and I still love the album, still one of my favorite artists of all time. Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells, first music I ever liked. And I used to listen to that at night on CD back in the day.
So
on
old,
my
Ken.
yeah, it is old now. I also had tapes before that, to be fair. So I used to listen to that on CD and have it next to me, and I'd play that at nighttime. I'd lie there and listen to it for the whole thing and just think empty thoughts. And I didn't realize, but that is effectively meditation, right? So I get where you're coming from, Legend Tinker. Hand also says, is it possible to be a personality type that is just good at keeping things in life at a healthy distance? I might just be like that naturally. Hey, that's fantastic. Absolutely. You absolutely can do that. That means you just do all this by default. That's great. Meditation and such can always help. I mean, it can always improve. I think that there might be issues that you don't even really consider that are bothering you that might come up when you think about them, right?
In all honesty, though, some people have learned to just get that balance correct, and so they don't necessarily need more. They maybe are already doing it and don't even they may not have ever categorized what they're doing, but they are actively doing the things they need to be healthy. And so some people they kind of got it, and so it is to each their own. And if you are finding that you are chill and relaxed and able to handle what's coming at you in life, keep doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. All right, so thank you very much, chat, for keeping us entertained. It's always appreciated.
And
I'm very sorry for taking up so much of this section, by the way.
Is all good. So, but because I didn't have a whole lot to say specifically about things today, I didn't have a whole lot set up. But the only things I was really going to bring up, let's see, what did I have? We had already talked a little bit about it, but oops, wrong window. Too many things. Like I said, all I was going to talk about one was that hey, I'm finally actually back home. That's
Yay!
Nice. I'm going to do this twofold. I'm going to talk about what things have been doing. At the same time, I'm going to show a little bit of what my relaxation had been from the last couple of days because I finally have technology now at home, and so I was going to share some of the videos I took while I was off in another country. Real quick. And so this first one I'm going to play is just going to be where I was hanging out for the entire time I was in Barbados. But while talking about finally being home, it's nice to actually, be able to sit in my own house and have all the things around me. Granted, at the same time, falling into all the things that are, chores that I've been neglecting because I've been here. So cleaning house, washing clothes that I've been dirtying while on trips and things like that. But actually being in my own space, which is quite nice. And so that's been lovely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
It wasn't the worst of places to be.
It's funny how you can be away from home and in the most beautiful place in the world and miss home.
Oh, no. So I will tell you, not a point while I was gone did I miss home. No. But I do appreciate being back. That's how I'm saying that piece.
Okay.
So there's that aspect. But like I said, that was that aspect of it. The other one, actually, nope, that one I want to make sure I move up. Because I'd done a few things where I took some time lapses and stuff like that. And so, various things showing off. But other than that, what I was going to talk about while other things I've been doing is that I have, only other thing I really had to note was yesterday, a friend of mine had thrown out saying like, hey, I'm going to go out and do some things. Anybody want to join? And so invited me off to a ice rink up away from us, a little ways away. But so I spent, 4 hours yesterday skating.
Cool.
That's
a good exercise.
Yeah, it is. And so my legs are feeling it today, to say the least. And I had some expectation that was going to happen. But it was fun because it's one of those activities that when you do it, you don't notice the work initially, right? You don't notice how much effort it really takes to go do it.
Fun sports can do that, right?
Yeah, right. Or kind of like negates, or you don't even notice how much you're doing exercise. After the 4 hours, I will tell you, I felt it. Then towards the end of the sessions, I was definitely standing around more. And on the wall more, but I felt proud of myself because I not once busted my rear, dropped, or anything like that. I stayed
Wow,
on my feet
well
for the
done.
entire time. I was able to skate forward, backwards a little bit, and things like that. And so truly, it was like a wonderful little experience. Some of the videos also I'm showing this, some of the stuff from is like hiking up to some cool monument type things, stuff that were there that was neat to see. Just kind of checking out the land around and such, and kind of the views on some of the hills in Barbados, which were nice. And in a way, this was some of my meditation, if you will, because while I was out there, and why I could say I truly appreciated the trip that I was taking, because it did have some moments that were in many ways meditative, and just, there's certain environments that I think lend themselves really well to relaxing. And sun, surf, clear skies for me was one of those places. And so I was kind of showing just some of the places we got. And then in the videos, you look at the gals that you'll see in them over and over. Those are my younger brother's volleyball team that was the reason we were there for the trip. And a lot of their, like I said last time, first time out of country and such. So that was pretty entertaining. But, beautiful places to go visit. So that was a good time, let alone just kind of some of the fun things. That looks like
so much fun. It's such a beautiful place as well.
It really was pretty. Like just a, gorgeous place to be out and about, essentially. There's other videos in here, just kind of silliness stuff. Unfortunately, I have to edit them before I can show some. There were some I had taken from like the boat trip we had done and everything, but they are, when you hold the camera and initially click the button, how it orients, it remembers. And so I have a few where like I was picking it up, but it was sideways. I hit the button. And so when I turned it up, it looked to me fine, of course, but the orientation the video remembers is that of being at an angle.
Sure.
And so it's kind of like, darn it. That is not what I was after. So I had an issue or two with those. Yeah, a couple hours just like, darn it. Okay, I need to find the one.
You can always edit in post, I guess.
Oh, you can. That's not a huge thing, and that's the thing. I just have to edit it. Gosh, I had a couple that I'd actually taken in like full 4K that were really pretty. Again, from various hikes and stuff we did. But anyhow, that was some videos of kind of just some of the landscape and saw that I was out there. That was a lot of fun. So good times, and kind of in that same sense, I recommend taking a trip, taking a vacation, enjoying yourself whenever you have the opportunity. And so
that's good for anybody's stress levels.
And admittedly, some people will be like, well, it's not like I can go to Barbados whenever I want. I know, and I'll be paying for this trip for a while.
You can take a vacation. A staycation should not be underestimated. I have always thoroughly, in fact, I was saying to Ken Features, I'd really love to do that in the next couple of months, a staycation, because I absolutely adore that. Going somewhere nearby, a couple hours drive, getting a nice lodge somewhere rural, and it's cheap, an Airbnb or whatever, and it can be so relaxing. And
I'm glad you bring that up, because that's absolutely what I would recommend as well. Is that it is absolutely appropriate to just kind of relax and be, wherever it is you might want to be. It doesn't have to be out and about. Doesn't have to cost money. It's just more the mindset you're in and what you let yourself do. Heck, even
this is friends, for God's sake, so you can't afford it, right? I mean, there's always an excuse. Cheap flights. If you can't afford a flight now, book yourself something for next year, and see what happens in the meantime. There might be a budget flight. Otherwise, you got one ready for next year, right?
Yeah, again, like we said, there's local stuff. I've been amazed how many things are right in my backyard, essentially, for being here in Colorado.
Yeah.
I can just go hike somewhere, just drive somewhere out to an open area and go for a walk, essentially, and enjoy nature that way. Or go sit in a park, or, heck, go fishing. Something like that. There's something, right? There's always something around. You just have to kind of take a moment to do it, to actually give yourself
That's another
that
thing,
time.
right? If you live in a big city, be a tourist for the first time. Like, actually go see the things that you've always lived next to but never climbed up or gone and noticed or whatever, right? I know there's tons of stuff like that in Scotland I still haven't seen.
Oh, gosh.
I've been near it my whole life. In fact, me and Ken are going to Ireland in 2 weeks, two weekends time. Speaking of which, I won't be on that show, by the way. Because
that's all right.
I just realized it's a 50-minute flight from here. It's not far.
Oh yeah,
and it's cheap. It's really cheap. It's like £50 a ticket return.
So that's the funny part. That's the funny part, Ken. That's kind of like for when you talked about some things, what Vegas is for me. Because Vegas is like a $140 round trip flight from Denver.
Yep.
It's a hop. It's like an hour flight. And if you really are paying attention for deals and stuff, you can get a hotel room for a couple nights for under $100. So you can go spend like a weekend in Vegas for $200 or something like that. And then depending on what else you do there, it can be whatever. I mean, I've done that when I went to CES, right? I went to CES for one night, one time for you guys, where I flew in first thing in the morning, went to CES all day, spent one night at Circus, and then went the next day and flew back that night.
You actually stayed at Circus. I think you visited it, but I didn't know you stayed there.
Oh, no. So the one time when I did that, I think it was the last time I went to CES, it was that quick of a trip because it was somewhat last minute in the sense that I knew I wanted to go, and I'm jonesing to go so bad again. I need to next year just say screw it and go. I need to just start planning it. But that I was able to fly out there for almost nothing. And Circus, now granted it was CES pricing, so it was still like $100 something for one of their rooms.
Sure.
You know, normal like everywhere else in town was like $400 or $500 a night or more. But I got the room and I packed just one bag, my backpack essentially with an extra shirt and pants, and trousers, and
I understand. Don't worry.
and pants, and like my camera and stuff, and that was it. Boom, done. But it is that idea that you can just go and enjoy. Hey, actually, Wrath, that's not necessarily off topic, but when you talk about relaxation doing things, you're saying you may be inheriting an AR-15. That can be all kinds of relaxing, depending on what you do.
Yeah, depending on your mindset, that's absolutely fine. Yeah, absolutely fine.
Well, and I'm challenged because this year I've got so many things coming up. With trips that I'm already taking where I've had to prioritize and lose like half of the cons that I would normally want to do. Like I'm not going to Katsucon in a couple weeks here because I just can't rationally make that work, and I'll be avoiding some of the other trips I'll do so I can hit, because I've already committed like Anime North, San Diego Comic-Con, and even some like our local cons that I have to prioritize which ones I do. But at the same time, I have desperate need to like go out to California and visit my brother and his family out there, as I see Babs in the chat again. And as we were talking about some of those trips you can kind of take, I really want to go see the Niagara region again, because when I went up there before with Kopii, it was amazing. And so I want to visit
that's a fantastic thing to bring your camera to, right? I find the photography holidays are a little bit different than normal holidays.
Well, and I really want to go back to Scotland. Like, you have no idea.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like how bad I want to go back to Europe. But the challenge is, you know, time off and flights, all of these things. But
you ever considered a 4-day work week? Would that ever be a thing that you could do?
I do a 4-day work week.
Oh yeah, I mean like hours-wise 4-day work week. I don't mean like an actual 4-day work week. I know you do like ridiculous hours every day in order to have a 4-day work week.
I do my 40 hours a week, but I maintain it so that I can have 3-day weekends every week, which is lovely. It's one of those flexible things I've been able to do in life that not necessarily everyone can, but is definitely one of my work-life balances that I have, is that I take a lot of advantage of my days off, and I feel like if I was doing 5-day work weeks and having 2 days off each weekend like many people, I don't know if I would manage that well. But so that's the reference I have for it and how I manage.
I think the future really is 4-day work weeks for everybody, but like less hours than 40 hours though.
Well, and that's one of those things that, you know, studies, depending on what country you look at, show that 30-hour work weeks can be better because it's how effective you are, depending on the type of job you're
working
running.
Smart, not working hard, right?
So I do like some of that science.
Any office worker can tell you that you go into an office, you sit and you do an hour work in the morning, then you spend 5 hours on Facebook, right? I think speaking plainly, that's the average in most IT places, right? Although other studies have also shown that I think it's something like 1 out of 90 people in any company, and that number gets smaller and smaller. Like it was like 1 out of 95, 1 out of 100, depending on the size of the company. Is actually a hard worker and will work for most hours during the day. But the majority of people, and they carry the team, right? And so when you're firing people, if you're having like a workplace renewal or whatever you want to call it, where they're trying to reduce the numbers of workers, they got to be careful. If they get rid of the one person who actually does the work out of 100, that'll have a huge effect.
Yes. Well, you gotta be smart, right? Anyhow, it is time for us to head into a break here. As we do, though, and we're going to play, gosh, I got an old song queued up here from Lucky 27s. This one's back from like 2012. I'll be playing during the break. But feel free to send your emails. I know we have at least one in here ready for us to read about your Geek Cred when we come back from Cupcheck, as well as, let's see, what else I have? Oh, a reminder that if you haven't checked out, you can see it on the front page of VtWProduction.com. You can see that 20 for T continues their series of plays as they've been playing through the tactical strategic game, or I guess tactical fighter shooter, XCOM, as what they are currently going through. I think they were like 4 or 5 episodes in that last I looked. And so if you can catch that, if you haven't subscribed to them already, feel free to do that on YouTube, as well as you can check out all of their posts when they make it on our front page. So check that out. But with that, you're listening to Show X on VtWProductions.com, and we will be back right after this break in just under 4 minutes. All right, everybody, we will see you shortly.
Send in your emails to showx at VtWProductions.com. listening to ShowX on VtWProductions.com.
Welcome back, everybody, and here we go. So, we were talking about those things. We're going to go ahead and kick things off with the second piece with a little bit of...
I'm a geek. Are you a geek? Geek Cred, level up!
And the email that we have in, as we also in the chat, Babs saying that he's going to start off our Geek Cred by saying that he took the kids to go see Broly, which is, for those who don't know, the new Dragon Ball Z movie that is in theaters right now.
Oh my god, I had no idea about this.
Yeah, and so it's one that admittedly I have not, because I have not been keeping up with Dragon Ball Super. I have run into Dragon Ball and Naruto fatigue, and so I've not been watching Dragon Ball Super or Boruto. And eventually maybe I'll binge each of those, as there's, I'm sure, going to be hundreds of episodes by the time I go to watch them. But I am curious to know what you thought of it, Babs, as we talked about. But email-wise, and Ken, do you want this one, or do you want me to grab
No,
it?
you go ahead, sir. You go ahead.
All right, this one coming in saying Geek Cred. It says, since the last time we spoke, I managed to check off a personal before the bells tolled to finish off 2018. I completed Mega Man X4, which is not only the single game I've completed in the last 365 days, but is also the first completed Mega Man game from the extensive franchise. Now let's get to 2019. My goals are to finish Yakuza 0 and take a small dent in completing the 259 games by giving myself a reason to stop downloading games. I'm assuming that's in your Steam list or your overall library. Let's see. So I can focus on one game at a time. Question for everyone. What is one game you want to finish in 2019 that you didn't have time for in 2018? Ken, do you have a thought on that?
Sorry, you lagged out the last second there. Could you read the last part?
It said, what is a game that now in the new year you'd like to finish that you did not get to last year?
That's difficult for me, because the one game I wanted to complete, I actually already have now. It was Just Cause 3.
Hey.
It wasn't a New Year resolution or anything. I just happened to finish it in the past week. So
that is still that's a good way to start off the year, honestly. I think that's really cool.
That's true.
So for me, it's probably going to be Moss, just because I need to stream more of that, and it's such an adorable one. And ever since, I forget which friend of mine called me out saying that Moss is the game that the main character, the little mouse Moss, uses sign language to communicate with you as you're playing in VR with it, that I want to go through it more and want to pay more attention to that to see that that's what's happening, because I think that'd be awesome to pay
Is it
more
actual
attention.
sign language, or is
That's
it like...
ASL, so actual American Sign Language. And I had seen pieces. I remembered before Moss came out reading articles and hearing about it, but I didn't realize that was the one. And hey, thank you very much to Werewolf DR for the follow on Twitch. Thank you very much for that. But yeah, just in general, that was a thing. And so now trying to check that out myself, and because it's VR, right? I can zoom. I say zoom. I can move my head right up close and actually look to see what Moss is doing, and hopefully can pay attention a little more. So we'll see. But yeah, for me, game-wise, gosh, that's hard to say. But like I said, Moss is probably the main one. There's a few others I'd like to get further into. I have a similar goal of not trying to buy more games before I finish more. But that coming from Cupcheck saying, take care, and P.S. Magic the Gathering Arena is sucking my soul, and quite possibly my tax returns. Yikes, scary. I avoid all of the CCGs for that sense. I did actually download or get hold of it. Yeah, Werewolf Dragon. I definitely got hold of, what was it, the new Magic the Gathering Arena. In fact, it's sitting here on my desktop right here. And I played it for like a day just to see what it was about, and realized even more so that I really do not want to get back into like CCGs. Like, scary. And so, yeah, that was a thing. But
yeah, I've been completely disillusioned with Hearthstone.
Yeah,
I'm just not interested anymore.
Interesting, because that's a lot of stuff that I haven't like really played any of them lately. And there's a few that I tried. Like there's even the one from Elder Scrolls Bethesda one that I tried for a moment, and then just walked away from. And so
I didn't even look at it, honestly. I barely looked twice. Even the Artifact, the new Dota based one, not interested. Not interested at all.
And I haven't even followed the numbers to see how those are. Although we do have, because I'm not going to spend much time on Geek Cred today, because we have news to talk through, including a lot of things looking forward to in 2018. The things I did want to talk to, I'm still playing League of Legends, like I said, in ARAMs. Trying to prep for cosplay stuff because I'm trying to both get started on some new costumes or get them really going, including my hidden project, as well as I need to finish reskinning my, or modifying a little more my Thomas Jefferson from Hamilton cosplay, since I'm going to go see Hamilton. Not this coming week here, but the week after that, and I want it to be in as positive shape as it can before that. The only other Geek Cred thing I wanted to really bring up is that I did go see a new movie, because I had a hankering over the weekend here to get into a theater, and I went and saw Bumblebee, the Transformers movie that is out.
Oh,
and
I heard it was pretty good.
I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
It's one of those that arguably the best of the live action CG Transformers movies that's been made. And the only one that to me
it's not hard to beat some of them, right?
Well, some of them, but even the first that had like that first sense or seeing of them. But this is one where this was the best throwback to what I grew up with as Bumblebee. The movie with the Transformers and everything, it had so much throwback to the 80s because that was the actual time frame they put it in. And they did something marvelous, I thought, in that they presented it in a way that it spoke to those people who grew up with the original cartoon, but also put itself in a time frame where it could easily fit into the franchise that already exists. So it doesn't break kind of the canon they already have in many ways. It actually leads into it very well and blends. Which is both good and bad in my opinion, because it's good because this is an official Transformers movie and all. The bad I have it for me is that it also means that the likelihood of them making more of this caliber of Transformer movies, the ones I'd like to see, is harder unless they continue to go backwards, which actually would be epic. If they did a full Cybertron one, I'd be down for days. And I say that because the visuals in it were phenomenal, and as Bab says in the chat, I also had no idea that it was a Michael Bay movie until the credits, when it said that he had a part in it as well as Steven Spielberg. Because the way it was actually directed, which was not Michael Bay, did not have overly shiny lens flares or too many explosions.
I was waiting for that.
No, it was such a solid presentation movie. And again, it pulled at the nostalgia so bad, because even for me growing up in the 80s, where it took place, the houses and stuff like that they showed the people in, had all those things I remembered. They also did some phenomenal things with the soundtrack. There, anybody who's been a true fan of the franchise, back to the cartoons and the original animated movie, they did things in there that are just like, that song, I can't believe you did that, let alone just for the time period as a whole. They really did a great job.
How weird is that? That's almost 40 years ago since the 80s started.
Let me look. It's something I recognize more and more every day as I look at the gray in my beard. Yes. But they did all that wonderfully. The acting was actually really well done in it, although probably arguably one of the more challenging parts was one of the lead antagonists, which was John Cena. His character in it was interesting. But it all worked well. And actually the main gal that played it, I really did care for I thought she did a great job. So that was my one thing I'm going to throw out there and say I recommend, and thought it was wonderful. And Babs is saying, I think they will pretend the other Transformer movies were not made. Too much money to leave on their table. Well, that's the thing, though. Because of what they did with Bumblebee's voice and kind of the things that did actually fit the continuity with what we saw in the movies that were released already, I don't know if they're going to... Because a lot of people said this was the reboot we needed. I don't think they actually rebooted the series. I think they just did a prequel. And I think they did a hell of a one. And for anyone who likes the Transformers franchise, I really recommend you go see it. And I think it works well on the big screen.
They might look at the numbers and say, "Hey, this would work better as a new series," even if they weren't planning to, because if judging by the fact that the last few Transformer movies have been pretty poorly received.
Well, but they've all made money. That's part of the challenge.
Have they hard. As much money?
Yes. Well, so here's one of the weird things, right? And there's arguments depending on your fandom about the quality of a movie. And unfortunately, one of the metrics people try to throw out there is sales, right? To say that if it made X amount of money, it must have been good, which I don't think is truly a corollary. I think
that's dumb. If it's a sequel to a fantastic film, but itself is bad.
And that's the thing, right? And really more, it's the hype, it's the advertising, things like that will lead people to the theater the first time. Now, if you can track metrics of repeat viewing, people who go back more than once, things like that, I think that's a stronger one, but who knows? Because one of the things that's happened recently is everybody's been going on and on about the constant war between Marvel and DC as a whole and the things they produce, and how Aquaman, which I also would like to see, I've heard a lot of mixed about it. Now, the challenge is all the DC fanboys will spend all day telling you the box office numbers because worldwide it has hit over $1 billion in sales. And so it is no question a massive movie, and arguably the most has made the most gross at the box office of any DC movie. And of any
it was the worst one I've seen in a long time.
And so that's the thing, though, right? Where I've heard a lot of feedback saying that while it's a pretty adventurous thing, you know, a lot of glitz and glam to it, it is not necessarily the most substantial movie. That it's not necessarily a great movie. But every time you try to bring that up, fanboys will be like, but it's made all this money, so it must be great. Right? And that's where I say they are not necessarily the same thing. And arguably, like we say, like I've said to anybody, the challenge is that, this is another example of the exact metric, Spider-Man's Into the Spider-Verse, the animated film, is flippin' amazing. I argue one of the best movies that's been produced in quite some time, and yes, it's animated. And it's a superhero movie, but it far exceeds the quality of like almost any of the other superhero movies I've seen, and it's animated. And yet its box office is not nearly as high as most of these other ones. And it's funny because even my cousin, this was a great discussion that we had, kind of was annoyed by that fact. He was like, what do you mean it's not making tons of money? I said, it's animated. There's a lot of people who won't go because they just see the movie, anything animated like that, as being a childish thing. Much how anime is received by a lot of people and such. They just don't see it as a viable thing because it's...
Oh, they're right, of course.
But that's the thing, right? You pre-categorize something's experience based on the way it's produced. Some people won't see Pixar movies, right? Because they think, oh, they're just these childish things. Where in my experience, the stories being told are phenomenal. It's just a new medium for it. And I guess maybe I'm just open for that. But that's one of those things that definitely challenges me because I know that I would challenge which ones are the better movie. And for right now, Spider-Verse is like top bar. But it's not making the money. So anyhow, that was
I've heard nothing but good things. It's not making money. I didn't know that. I'm not surprised either.
It's making money, but not compared to these massive movies that everybody's going out to see, like Aquaman and stuff. So because of that, in comparison, people are saying, "Oh, it must not be that great if it's not making those many dollars with these other ones that have come out." And again, that's something that's not a true representation. Nice. See, I didn't wait. Does that actually light up, or is that just a reflection?
No, it's not lighting up. It's just the light.
Okay, it caught the light just right that the stars, glowed, and that's why I was curious. And so we'll see. And actually, it'll be interesting, Babs. We'll see, in just a couple weeks here when Battle Angel Alita comes out in theaters, which I'm absolutely going to go see, how that one's received. That one will be interesting because I don't think enough people really know the source material on it, and it's going to be such a... I hope
this is the first me hearing about it. What is it exactly?
Battle Angel Alita. If you have not seen that trailer, do. It's a CG fest that came from an original manga and a 2-episode OVA that you can watch on YouTube. That is an interesting futuristic universe where basically cyberization, augmentation of people has gotten to a full-end thing where people are both in human-type bodies as well as over-the-top, versions of mechanical bodies and things like that. Very much an action sci-fi flick with I don't know if it's dystopian fully, but there is a point where there's a city above that flies in the air that's basically the utopian city, and those people in the story you follow are those that literally live off the trash of those above, and it's all supporting of. And so I like it a lot. I'm very excited for it, but we'll see how it does. I would love to see more of these adaptations of anime come in, or even just traditional anime in theater be a thing to go see, but don't know yet. I'm hopeful. All right. So that's what I had for Geek Cred. Ken, is there anything specific you want to bring up before we get into the Geekoscope today?
Absolutely. So I've got a few games I've been playing that I'd like to talk about because I've been trying to de-stress myself. I actually have games I've been playing. So I played Just Cause 3 to completion. So the first thing I did was my journey through Just Cause. For those who don't know, it's a silly game where you can you're Rico Rodriguez. Rico. Nice. Sorry, I can't do. I've been drinking too much of a.
Is it Ricardo?
No. It's, I've been drinking too much of Advocat for my drink of choice tonight, which means my tongue's a little
loose. Yeah,
it's a little hard to do the right.
You can't roll your R's as effectively.
I can't. It's removed some of my Scottishness. Rico Rodriguez. There we go.
Rico Rodriguez.
Yes, he's the main character of the game, and he is basically this invincible man who takes down empires. jumping plane to plane, tank to tank, taking down towns, military bases, and Air Force bases as if he was peeling a banana. He is ridiculous and fun, and you play as him. And I spent a complete. I mean, I've completed the main storyline, and I've liberated every town and that I can. I have not collected every single vehicle in the game. I've not done every challenge.
You're not trying to do the 100% on it. What is arguably one of them? Like, it's like trying to 100% Skyrim or something like that. There's so many open levels and things you could do. That's just silly.
Very few people have actually completed Skyrim to completion.
Storyline, yes, but
and even fewer would consider that actually completing the game. Most people would consider you just doing the main storyline and a few of the side things as completing the game.
Yes.
So it's a really fun game. It's quite pretty as well. Just Cause 3. It's pretty cheap, and it's nothing serious. You can't take it serious at all. Because if you do, you won't appreciate it. It's really made to be a ridiculous game. And it's I completed it, and that was a lot of fun. The main storyline was pretty mediocre. I think they did a fantastic job of showing a fascist leader. I like the fact that one of the collectibles actually is tempting me to go do. Just listen to the storyline.
Oh.
What you do is you collect the fascist dictators' tapes that for some reason are throughout the land that you pick up and explain how he rose through the military ranks and how he socially engineered himself into like positions of power politically and how he killed people who were like he needed to kill and how he gained the faith of people by trying to make them think that they're better than others and yada yada yada. It was very 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 interesting. It was very well done. And it was just a lot of fun. It was a stupid game, but it was a lot of fun. I love the Just Cause series for that. And I'm tempted to get Just Cause 4. However, for those who haven't looked at the stats, I think it's something like 30% of users would recommend this game on Steam.
Ooh.
Apparently, it's just a very pretty reskin of Just Cause 3.
There's a challenge there, right? Because Just
lots
Cause
of functionality removed.
Well, I was gonna say because Just Cause kind of did that thing where they exploded. I want to say with Just Cause 2 really is where they introduced enough mechanics and kind of world size and stuff that it really caught on as a neat, unique thing. That people just love, right? And
it was. Well, I remember playing one. I played one on the original Xbox way back in the day. At my friend's house, we played the crap out of it. We thought it was so funny, like falling from a parachute and landing on on cars and stuff. And if you didn't deploy your parachute soon enough, like you'd hear over the broadcaster, "Rico, open your parachute! Rico, no!" And we loved just killing Rico that way because it was just so funny. Maybe we're sadists though. But it really was a really fun game. And yeah, all of them have been pretty good. But Just Cause 4 seems to be like Square Enix just said, we made so many good sales with Just Cause 3. Just slap on some new graphics, take out the functionality that doesn't work straight away, and there we go. That's a new game, right? Or at least that's what people have been saying to me about it. So yeah, I completed that. That was good. What else did I do? I have a bunch of games installed that I decided to try out. So I started playing StarCraft 2.
Hey.
I played the first couple of missions on the campaign, but honestly, I just wasn't really in the mood for an RTS, and I'm
That's
no
a challenge, right? Because I love RTSs, but I haven't done them for... Now, I did play all the way through the StarCraft 2 storyline at one point, and enjoyed it, but it was something I'd keep coming back to on occasion. And there's some other ones I have that I want to go through, like Grey Goo and others that I really enjoyed. And so...
Oh, yeah.
And I like RTSs, but like you're saying, I have to be in the mood for them. And it
Absolutely.
depends on the mechanic, because I play them my own way, where I tend to be the one who turtles and grows and gets all the tech before then just going out and rushing and destroying everything.
That's exactly my tactic,
right?
too.
And then the missions that have me actually tied to timelines of something, like you have to get this done quick or else something else happens, are probably my most stressful versions of those, because I have to change my entire mentality. How far can I go before I have to actually, like, do the thing, right? How much tech, how big is force? Shoot, I have to go or else this fails. Those are bad for me, because I always like to do where I just, overwhelm whatever the challenge is, which is always fun for me. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I stopped playing StarCraft. I only played it for about 10 minutes, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Similarly with Diablo, I played that a little bit on PC because I have it on PlayStation. I played that a lot on PlayStation, but I barely played it on PC, mainly because I don't have the DLC. But I started playing a little bit, and I was like, oh, I guess I could play on PC. And then I just hated the UI. I hated the fact that you need to hold left click the whole time to play. It's much more intuitive on the controller, I have to say. I rarely say this, but here is the one game. I think Diablo is actually better on PlayStation than it is on PC.
Well, my arguing behind things, right, is not necessarily, well, I say it's more about the experience you're after, right? It's what controller is best, be it keyboard, mouse, or a dedicated controller. And there are games that absolutely play better on controller versus the experience, meaning do I want to play this in my sit down in my nice comfy chair in front of my monitor with high resolution and that kind of thing, or do I want to sit comfortably on a couch and experience it from afar? And I think there are things that lend themselves better to one or the other.
Absolutely.
Now my challenge is I'm in a hybrid. Well,
Diablo is something that I think it shouldn't be the main attention because a lot of the stuff you do is kind of grindy, right? So I like to do something else like watch Netflix while I play it. And if I'm doing it on my laptop, I can't really do that. But if I'm on my PlayStation, I can just open up my phone or whatever, and it's a bit easier. So and plus, genuinely, the UI I find it so much more intuitive on PlayStation than on PC. And I hate holding left click. It feels like I'm doing work almost. I don't know why, but it feels like I'm working by holding left click the whole time. Whereas on PlayStation, you're just playing with the nipples, right? The nipples. And who doesn't like playing with nipples? So yeah, I've been playing Diablo and a little bit on PlayStation. That's been fun, and I think I'm going to play it a bit more. The new season came out yesterday, actually, so there's a bunch of new stuff to do as well, which is enjoyable. So I went to a friend's house last night, one of Kitten Feature's friends, and there was a few people there, and we played a bunch of games, video games and otherwise. We started off by playing Cards Against Humanity for a few hours. That was my first time ever playing, actually, Cards Against Humanity.
What?
I know. I've heard so much about it, and I've played Zixi.
Whoa. I was going to say, I was going to ask at least if you had played Pretend You're Zixi with us. Because I thought you had.
Zixi,
okay, so you've at least participated. Right? Oh, no. It is the exact same thing, just with user built content, so it's actually in a lot of ways better. But I was, for a moment there, I was going to like lose my crap. I was like, what?
Well, yeah. So I think we played 3 games. I can't really remember.
Okay.
Now, since this is anonymous, I can tell a couple stories. I, of course, as you guys know, I genuinely do not smoke any weed. I am not interested. But some people there were, and it was hilarious because
oh gosh, the way how it affected them.
So yeah. So they had this device known as a volcano. I'm not going to pretend to understand it, but it's some kind of steamy thing that makes weed into steam. I don't understand it, right? It's magic. And so they put a bunch of weeds. They put 7 weeds into this machine and injected all the weeds. No, I'm kidding. They did this volcano thing, and these people got ridiculously high. Like, clearly they hadn't done this before, or this was a new thing, I guess. I don't really know. And they were all like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this. Now, these people I know have smoked for a long time, so I guess it must have, either because it's new, or maybe it dumps a higher level of the chemicals THC, right? A higher level of THC into your bloodstream. I have no idea. But these guys were super high, and it was really, really, really funny. I had some alcohol with me, so we had a couple of drinks. Some American booze, actually, that we brought back. It was called Bayou, down by the Bayou.
Okay.
It was an orange liqueur rum that we found, and we brought back. It was like $12, so we thought we'd try it. And we were drinking that. So we're all playing Cards Against Humanity. Most of the people were high, and me and Kitten were, drinking some of this stuff. And it was just ridiculous. The amount of it's such a funny game as it is, but because like one of the guys was so ridiculously off his face that he just found everything that I said funny. And that my ego is big enough as it is, so I kept going again and again because I'm seeking the attention and the laughing and making people laugh at my jokes. So he's like curled up on the floor in like a fetal position, laughing, just at the most dumb stuff that we're talking about, the dumb like cards coming up. And of course, that's the thing about Cards Against Humanity, right? They always end up being the most sexist, the most homophobic, the most racist, the inappropriate thing.
You find out your group quickly when you see what it is people gravitate towards for their what they choose.
I'm not going to say the names of the cards, right? But we had this one round where somehow every single person was extremely racist. Like everybody, like just so bad. Every single thing, just the way it all turned out. and this guy was like crying. It was just the funniest thing. This guy was literally weeping with laughter, like right down his face. And like when it was his turn next to read out the cards and be the host of the game, he couldn't even read the card. He was laughing he had so much water in his eyes and stuff. It was the funniest thing. So we had a lot of fun playing that. It was a really enjoyable game. I really like Cards Against Humanity.
It is one of those things that can be very entertaining, and it's funny because there are a lot of variations of the game that have come out now. Everything like Crabs Against Humidity and all the other variations stuff out there. Some even more raucous than others. And I heaven forbid, I think they even have come up with some more kid-friendly versions now that I've seen. Like I think there's a Disney one or such like that as well. So there's so many versions. But yes, it's one that you can find something normally for whatever your group is and what they enjoy, which is what I love about it. So it's a good time.
We played this other game. I didn't actually play because I had to sit back because I was getting ready to leave at the time. But I watched them play this, and it was really, really, again, equally hilarious. Annoyingly, I can't remember the freaking name of this game. Basically, there's a bunch of like I don't know, Play-Doh looking like characters. I think there's 4 of them maybe. They're on this arena map and they're online, and they fight each other. But it's kind of like that stupid. Do you know QWOP? You heard of QWOP? QWOP. It's that stupid athletic game where you use Q, W, O, and P on your keyboard to control the muscles in somebody's legs and try and make them run.
Huh.
And most people get like -2 meters because they screw up so badly straight away. And it's just a stupid game, right? It's a game like that, but it's for PlayStation, and it's these 4 people brawling. You like control their limbs with your. So unlike most games which like automate the control of the person you're controlling, right? Like this is attack, this is defend, whatever. Instead, it's like this is move your forearm forward, this is move it back or whatever. So it's really difficult to use, and people are just walking around in really stupid manners, right? And if you like use your arm near an object, it'll automatically connect to it, generally speaking, or a person. So all these people are like trying to choke each other, and this arena that you're in is like slowly getting destroyed. Either it's like a train station where there's a train going through, or it's a skyscraper that's not fully built, and you're falling through like the beams in the middle and stuff. It's a ridiculous game. I think it's £15 on Steam. I saw. I wish I could remember the name of it. QWOP like game PS4. But it is honestly so funny. I can't believe I'm not finding this anywhere. I watched these guys play, and so Kitten was playing, and she had no idea how to play this game. Like she was like everybody else had some experience, and she just had absolutely no idea what she was doing. So she just kept holding hands with like other people in the group because that's all she could work out to do is hold their hands. And they were like trying to like beat off the other like 3 or 4 people trying to kill them with like their other 3 limbs while holding onto Kitten, who was like trying not to fall to her death constantly. It was just so funny. The amount of ridiculous stuff that kept going on. Really fun game. I really wish. I'll once I find it, I'm going to keep looking for it, and once I find it, I'll say it. But it might take a little while.
Gotcha.
So that was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed playing that last night. Now the last thing I want to mention is I've been playing Destiny 2.
Yeah, that's a fun game.
Yeah, so we got it for free. I had it installed and wanted to play it. I kind of got off-put by it a few weeks ago. I thought to myself, I don't know if I want to play this. From what I've heard, it's just like you only have like 3 moves you do. So what's the point? That sounds boring. I prefer a WoW-like experience with MMOs, where you have a whole bunch of stuff you could possibly do, lots of customization options, yada yada yada. So this kind of didn't really appeal to me. But playing it, I am blown away by the graphics. I did not expect it to be such a beautiful game.
Oh, dude, no, that's one of the things where the engine they use, I've talked about before, is phenomenal. And it's one that on the PC, I have it playing in 4K, running at 60 frames per second all day long, and it just looks gorgeous. The gameplay is, I'd say, somewhat simplistic, and they do some things where it looks very open, but in some cases it's kind of narrowed alleyways of how you do things. But they did some things that just the presentation's beautiful. So it's something that I know the storyline you can kind of crash through in no time, But for a quick experience and just kind of a fun jump in and play for a little bit, I thought Destiny 2 was really good. And it's something that I would recommend for... Now, granted, right, I got it for free also. So just playing that, but I've enjoyed it.
All right. Yeah, like you said, it's free, right? So, well, this was free. It's not free anymore.
I don't think you
if
get
you're
any
interested.
Yeah. So...
But yeah, I've got it installed, and I've now made all. I am a little disappointed with the number of classes. Admittedly, I think there's subclasses, but still, I don't know.
Yeah,
wish
there's
there was
only a
bit
couple.
more.
There's the 3 basic. I've only been playing like the kind of ninja roguish one.
Yeah, there's Warlock. I don't even remember what they all are now. There's Hunter, there's Warlock, and is it like Inquisitor or Infiltrator?
I do not know. Infiltrator might be the.
You
right
got the
one.
tank, right? The tank classes. Let me Google it right now. Well, I'm also googling this other thing.
But yeah, no, I would tell people to check it out. I think it's a good one to look at.
Yeah, it's quite fun, but I'm not in a clan yet. Do we have a VTW clan or anything?
I don't know if I set one up or not. Normally I do try to grab them, so we'll see. But yeah, and actually, Zakuna, you make a good point there, saying hopefully Bungie takes their time and improves it because of their split from Activision. Because that's actually some of the news that's happened recently. I don't think I actually grabbed an article on it.
We haven't talked about it yet, no.
The fact that, it wasn't just that Blizz Activision have had a bit of a split in a way. It wasn't Blizz Activision, right? It was the whole Bungie side of that.
Yeah, Bungie were just like, I'm out. You guys suck. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Tromad says there's a VGW clan set up by El Campo and Pause on Destiny 2. Yeah, if anybody can confirm that would be great.
Well, and I believe they did as well. It's one of those things like, hey, VGW exists out there, and if people want to play together, just say what games you're playing, and we will definitely try to jump people in them. Just like after the show, if you jump into the Discord channel, then jump in there and we can all chat, and that's where we try to coordinate for people to play games together. So,
absolutely.
Throwing it out there so that people, we are a community. We want you to be part of it. So
we are a society. That's a meme. I can't remember where it came from.
And if anybody needs,
do you ever get that way? Do you ever look at so many memes that you say a phrase and you're like, I know that's from somewhere that I saw before. It's like quoting films that you can't remember the film almost. In a society. Yeah. So that's from a. Oh, I think it's an anonymous joke. Okay. It's a reference to gamer Joker memes. Okay, it's to do with it's mocking the sort of like idea of online gamers rise up kind of crap that people say, that cancerous side of things. Anyway,
gotcha. All right. So did you have anything else?
Yeah,
on
that's
the
everything on my
Geek Cred?
side.
All right. So then we're going to go ahead and do a quick switch over to
Technology, news, and more today on the Geekoscope.
to talk about some of the things that are going to be happening this year and things in gaming. I did want to get some quick ones because there's some discussion. In Skyrim, there's a talk about it with, is it the new DLC or the new piece they're adding to Skyrim Online or Elder Scrolls Online, I think. Essentially, there was a piece where people were a little annoyed because the composer that's been doing the music for everything was not actually tasked to do the next one, like to do the expansion that's coming out.
Oh, I follow him on Spotify. He's one of my top study playlist go-tos.
Yeah, and well, because of that, people are kind of complaining, like, hey, why aren't you going to be using this guy that's been doing all this music? And it says, like, say, in the article from VGR, says the game's music and audio files are often covered by specific copyright laws. Indeed, in the case of Fallout, Bethesda told several mod projects, including Fallout 4 New Vegas, that they would not be allowed to take the dialogue recordings from Fallout New Vegas and mod them into Fallout 4. When it comes to music, many modders either don't include any or source their own. Now, however, Skyrim composer Jeremy Soule is giving modders permission to use some of his work, specifically his 2018 album, The Northern Diaries. And so it's just one of those little things. I don't know if it's directly connected with that, but it does say, oh, here it is. Oh, no, it's for the series Elder Scrolls 6. The composer recently said that he had yet to be contacted by Bethesda about the game. So it's not to say that he's not going to be in it, but there's a piece where there's a concern that he may not because the music he's made has been so iconic. But I just want to bring this one up because it's one of those things about helping modders and things like that, and so I love that that's a thing. And it's funny because, was it Tromad? What are you guys talking about in there? It says, Babs brought it and said, Gang Beasts? Is that the game you were looking for, Ken?
Yeah, that's it. Game Beasts. Absolutely, that's it. Thank you very much, Tromad.
No, that was from Babs. And then as it continued in,
Sorry, Babs,
they discussed and said something about, what was it? Copy off my lawn. Am I old enough to say that? Says, and then the mistake that Tromad says, I'm sure none of us are teens anymore, so it's allowed, except that My nephews and nieces that listen are absolutely teens and younger, so not all of us. I mean, those of us running the show, or me at least, are old. Ken's still young, so.
We have under 18 listeners. Uh-oh.
We do, but our show is moderate, if not the subject matter.
We always make sure not to swear, and we'll occasionally
we try not to
say
swear.
Like,
some of the content that may come up may be a little risque, so to each their own discretion.
Oh yeah,
we try to keep it okay.
Oh yeah.
Let's see other things that I wanted to bring up. Just real quick notes, since we don't have to talk about it much. Engadget has reported that for all of you Switch owners, that the Humble store is now starting to sell Nintendo Switch and 3DS games. So that should be great news for everybody out there. One, just we know we love us some Humble bundles because one, they sometimes put things on ridiculous sales of pay what you choose for the pricing of things, but also even in their regular store they have now, they often give great discounts. So I wanted to throw that one out there that if you haven't, go check out Humble Store. And it's even bigger deal now if you have a Switch or a 3DS because you may be able to find some great games that way. Let's see, not getting political yet. Another one, World of Warcraft has announced, or Blizzard has announced and put into the game now for those, at least it was on the test servers, that they have added a new, I think we talked about it before. Did I already talk about
We did talk about that, yeah.
Stanley? Yeah, okay, no, this is a different one then. This one is that one of World of Warcraft's most likable characters returns. And this is one that is not a character you'd think of, but is a knife. And it says, in Legion, World of Warcraft players got access to the most powerful artifact weapons that were tailored to their class and specification. Many of these weapons had history and were part of a Warcraft lore. Paladins got to wield the mighty Ashbringer after over a decade of hype. Druids claimed the Scythe of Yulin, and so on. Other weapons out of necessity had to be invented. One of them was Xalatoth, Blade of the Black Empire. And Xalatoth is obviously extremely bad news. The weapon's flavor text reads, Xalatoth has a mind of its own. Ignore its maddening whispers. Do not trust its lies it spins. Take from it what you need, but always remember the dark presence in the blade that is not your ally. And so as I read through the article, it's kind of interesting because this is not something I've experienced, and now that I've read it, I kind of want to go find it, see if I can see that content. But it talks about that it was a blade that actually, depending on where you would go and using it or having it with you, would actually change things you experienced. Would whisper things to you in the game or say things that were like, hey, go kill everyone here. Do things that would basically get you in a bad position and stuff. So I'm actually really curious about it. But essentially it was hinted at because there was a picture that came out from Blizz in their 8.2 preview where Sylvanas is wielding Xalatoth. And that could have a lot of implications, right? That could even speak to some of the decisions that Sylvanas has made. So that'll be a curious add to the lore. I'll be interested to see what that goes into as I am now lore hounding WoW to a degree. So those are some of the big ones I had initially. There was a neat one. Actually, I think this one's a free one as well, so I'll throw this one out there as well. Hopefully this article still comes up. But it was from My Nintendo News, and it says, video, Super Mario Bros. Fully recreated in Super Mario 64. And it says, both Super Mario Bros. And Super Mario Bros. 64 are iconic video games. Keen developer Kazi Emanuar has managed to successfully recreate Super Mario Bros. In the style of the classic Nintendo 64 title, Super Mario 64. And, quote, it looks wonderful. The key here, though, it is available to download on your PC for free. And so this is something I'm going to throw the link into the chat there for the article. And I don't know if I see the link to where you can actually get it. But throw it out there, and there's a video in that one that you're welcome to look up that shows essentially what it looks like. And the nice thing is that apparently it runs great, but it's playing in that it's all the worlds and stuff like that from the original Super Mario Brothers, but in that play style of Mario 64. So check that out. All right. I think that's all the ones I was going to rush into real quick, Ken. So if you have an article, please bring up. Otherwise, I'm going to kill us off with anticipation of 2019.
I've got loads of articles, so we can bounce back and forth if you'd like to. So this is one that I read a little earlier this week, and I thought it was quite amusing. So we've all heard the problems with Atlas. We were talking about this before in the on the show a few weeks ago. How we're quite excited, it looked cool, it was an interesting idea, but as always, it's an MMO that exists after the age of WoW, and therefore it's probably going to be terrible. Because it was after all titled a WoW killer, and therefore is going to fail. So as we found out in recent weeks, Atlas is actually a game that was just built on the Arc engine. It is actually just Arc, but with a different skin on top. And people have found this out. A Twitch streamer a few weeks ago found this out by accessing a menu by using I think an Xbox controller on PC instead of the normal keyboard mouse.
And
which
going
let you
down
see
to a
different options.
hidden menu, basically. You
Got to a hidden menu which showed all the Arc options, yeah. So since then, we found out that it's actually built on Arc, which is not great. And this has opened up the opportunity for other people to do some mishaps. So someone made tanks and planes appear in the pirate game Atlas. This is from IGN. Grape Shop Games' nautical MMO was invaded by tanks, planes, and whales after an admin account was compromised. One player, Burke Black, was streaming with some friends, and whales just started appearing, causing him to exclaim, "There are whales everywhere!" Thanks for that fantastic quote, IGN. Wow. Jatayesh Karunakaran, lead community manager and live producer, stressed that the breach wasn't due to a hack, third-party program, or exploit, which means that somebody's password was password, right? Karunakaran explained that an admin's Steam account was compromised to cause some devastation over the North American PvP servers. The devs rolled back the servers to state from some 5.5 hours earlier to remedy the situation. There's some videos of it as well, of these like tanks and stuff just appearing out of nowhere. But it's kind of a point of like, why are these assets even available considering it's a pirate game based in ages of yore? There's tank access somehow. What the hell?
There is still the argument or discussion that even if they use all the same engine essentially from the game, if it is truly a different experience, you could arguably say that they could re-release as a new game, even if they just modified what they already had. And that this was all beta content kind of thing, they might have had those assets in there as a way to also just test other features. This is me being advocate, right? Due to maybe not all the content of the new game being in there yet, and so an opportunity for them to bring other assets in to test some things, to do some, load balances, other things like that, and that maybe that's why they had all those assets in there. I do think, though, there's a little bit of validity to the discussion argument or kind of concern that people have, and it goes back to based on previous kind of comments and discussions saying that I've heard people talk that this was originally planned to be essentially DLC, an additive to the original Arc experience. And if that's the case, then you can I can see the complaint about why didn't this just get released as an add-on or something versus it being a full new game to buy. And that part I get. So it's hard to say because it's managing people's expectations, and if a dev did come out and say some of those things, then yeah, you might be a little wrong or in the wrong place for doing it, because I've also seen that happen with content for some of the shows and things I like. One of the ones I don't want to bring up too much, but is like Voltron, where I knew a lot of people who said they stopped watching them because they heard people who were producing it promise them some things that they didn't then get in the series, and they were trying to hold them accountable for it, and they really disliked it. Whereas for me, not knowing that, I was able to experience the whole series and really enjoy it. So I don't know. But that's a little bit of devil advocacy on my part.
That's fair. So yeah, that's a bit mad that's happened, but there you go. These things happen, and who knows? It's still getting good reviews, the game, to be honest. At least I just saw one. Let me look at the rest. Atlas reviews. Hopefully it doesn't give me reviews of the Atlas that's used for mapping.
Because that's still...
Yeah. Weird, it's not coming up. Is there any more? Is there more to the name than Atlas?
I would
it's got
look
5
up
out of
Arc.
10 on Steam.
I would say I would look up Arc if nothing else and go with that.
Yeah, that's true.
That would bring him.
It's got 5 out of 10 on Steam, and it's been on multiple sales, which is work.
Okay. Babs brings up a good point about that, and I remember hearing something about it. That it was partially because people had actually invested in Arc with the season pass thing or the annual pass, and that was something that was kind of promised as part of the content that they were going to get with that additional cost. And because they're splitting it out as a new game, now all those people aren't getting what they expected to receive for what they already spent.
They should, at the very least, give them give them access to the new game, right? That'd be fine.
That or a severe discount or something. But that I can fully appreciate as being a bad move by the company, and why fans and people usually might have some negative things to say. That I can absolutely appreciate. So,
Absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely.
Let's see.
So yeah, that's everything good on there. I've got some more if you'd like me to continue, or you can go instead if you'd like.
Well, so I've got back and forth between a lot of technology things and stuff like that since we have about 10 minutes left. One that I want to bring up now, the title of this one has some harsh connotation to it, but I think it's something to be aware of for all of us because it affects our everyday computing tricorders that we carry with us in our pockets all the time. This is an article from Gizmodo talking about AT&T barrels ahead with its BS plan to brand enhanced 4G as 5GE. And this goes back to marketing.
I've heard of this before, yeah.
So essentially, telecom giant AT&T has moved forward with its plan to rebrand the enhanced version of its existing 4G mobile network as its much faster and still in development successor, 5G. It was reported on Monday by TechCrunch that after a recent update to some AT&T, the devices now say that they are connected to a 5GE network. And the whole point of this article is to be very clear that 5GE is not truly a 5G network. It is a branding term referring to 5G evolution, which is made up by AT&T, and is what they're calling their 4G LTE network with some enhanced features like 4x4 multi-input, multi-output antenna. Which
they should get sued in the ground for that. They really should. And I hate this kind of crap. It's like the whole have you ever heard about leather? The different forms of leather you can get in shops?
No.
So genuine leather? People are like, oh, wow, this is going to be good quality. That is the lowest quality that's pieced together by pieces of things that are probably animal skin into something that looks like leather. Genuine leather is the name for that crappy kind of leather. It is the least likely to survive more than a few months. It is just a crap leather. If you buy genuine leather, you're buying the scraps of the animal skin. That's it.
Okay.
And I hate that kind of thing.
So those are important designations. In fact, I'd love if somebody knows if there's a site or anything that says that would be, and I would label it as something like truth in marketing. But if there was some kind of website asset where you could go and see what terms mean, because that happens in our food all the time, right? We know that things can be marked as natural, organic, or things like that, and yet it doesn't necessarily mean what people put that onus on or what people believe it means. But to actually get a break that the people could see that say this is legitimately what it means. In fact, I would like to pass legislation that says if we can't clean up that stuff, at least they'd have to link to a truth site or something that says what it does define as. Because I see it all the time. So in the same way that, anything like this where it's an advertisement saying that they are misleading their customers, and that's really what the suit would be, that they're receiving an entirely new generation of technology when they're not, in the case of AT&T and what they're trying to do, it infuriates me. This is telecoms, again, taking advantage of people, and because we keep relaxing the regulations on them, they are able to basically do whatever they want to make a buck, and it's not right. That's the light way of saying that. It is not right. And I would really love if there were groups, I don't know, that are paid for by taxpayer dollars, at least here in the United States, that would regulate these things for the benefit of public and not for companies. FCC. Oh, that's right. Held hostage by a group that is not for people's rights.
Yeah.
So,
God, the world today, man. The world today.
But like you said before, right? Advocacy for do what you can to support your own rights. And we've said this about everything from net neutrality to anything, that you have the ability to vote. You have the ability to vote out people who are not actually representing you. So please be a participant and do those things. Don't just think that you have to sit back and, deal with it. Make change. That's what we have the right to do in any of our nations that have the ability to vote. And so
absolutely
do that.
If you ain't part of the solution, you're part of the problem, right? That's the way it is. I've actually asked on Reddit now, on the Find a Reddit subreddit, which helps you find other subreddits, right? People help you find it. And it's a subreddit where truth in marketing is highlighted, e.g. genuine leather. So hopefully they'll give us a shout and help us out. And if not, I can mention it next week if they don't do it in time.
Well, I would like to see something, because I would love if there's a maintained website and something we can just post as often as possible to educate people, because that's really all it is. You can make your decision, still buy genuine leather, right? Something branded that, marketed that, and just know what you're getting. That's all we're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a little more pissed off about the AT&T thing, because they are purposefully choosing the term 5G because it's been started to get talked about. And the challenge, and it's even like when you originally look at 4G and LTE and stuff like that, and when I look at broadband, right? concept of broadband. Just that what people bring up and what it really means. Just how like all of the telecons fought against when the previous administration and the FCC were trying to rebrand broadband as having higher limits. Like if you weren't at least providing this much bandwidth, it wasn't considered broadband, and you couldn't call it that. And for the sake of people and our public, the FCC was actually trying to improve that and increase that number under the previous administration. They fought that tooth and nail because of go figure. Those telecons are not out for you. They're there for their bottom dollar for their pockets. And so things like that. Anyhow, sorry. What else did you have, Ken? Because everything I have is looking for 2019. I feel like I need to focus a show to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Netflix calls Fortnite. So Netflix, the company, has called Fortnite the game a bigger competitor than HBO.
I can absolutely understand that.
Oh yeah, it makes perfect sense. In a quarterly report released today, Netflix claimed that it competes for screen time with Fortnite more than it does with HBO. In the report, Netflix discussed its penetration into overall screen time, which includes TVs, mobile devices that are used for television and movie viewing, video games, and more. Netflix said, "We earn consumer screen time, both mobile and television, away from a very broad set of competitors. We compete with and lose to Fortnite more than HBO."
That actually makes a ton of sense because honestly, HBO is such a specific thing for content and what it provides.
Yeah, like go there for Game of Thrones, right? That's
right.
Pretty much it.
Game of Thrones, and it was Westworld. Yep, that's it. So why else would you go there? Whereas Fortnite is, and especially because mobile devices, right? You can track what people are watching on their mobile device. And HBO Go has its own app versus like Netflix, which is a major app. And so if you focus, I think even just explicitly on that, you would see a massive, market share change and shift from what people are spending their time on.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Plus, on smart apps and stuff, you can see that happening. And plus, I think you can watch it on certain devices. You can watch Netflix as well, right, on gaming consoles. So you can see people moving from the moving from Netflix to a game. They can probably track that as well, right?
That is interesting.
So thanks to IGN for the article, by the way, as always. That's pretty crazy if you think about it, that they're actually having to compete, even though they're completely different markets. TV shows, a provider of multiple TV shows and movies, like basically a producer for these things.
Hey,
against a single game.
Well,
madness.
Watching my nieces, right? They all were playing Fortnite on whatever devices they could get their hands on. So I could see that happen. Yeah, it is popular, even if it's something that those of us that can legally drink and drive separately. Don't
Hopefully.
Spend any of the time in that game, but it is massively consumed right now, which is a thing. What else did I gotta say along those lines? Also like all the stories I've been seeing about Fortnite, specifically about the dances and the IPs and stuff around that. There's a whole challenge there from Soulja Boy, I think, has a thing, and some others that have talked about which dances are included versus are not, and kind of how there's both legal and regular discussion about that. That's kind of entertaining. Fortnite really has.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I got distracted by chat momentarily. Kopii, a little while ago, actually said, "I will not repeat the discussion I heard about Tyrande at 2 a.m. I'm referring to trade chat again." And I was like, I just saw your Tyrande comment, Kopii. I am not surprised. So that's all interesting, and it's strange that these two different competing elements are actually competing in the first place. It's just weird. How do you combat in such different fields, right?
Well, but
it's like
also
playing a game of chess, but you're beating somebody else at basketball. It's like, what?
Well, but again, it's when your metric of what you're trying to track is just time spent on entertainment. Yeah. They do actively meet. The challenge, like you said, is they're different experiences. And one of the things we've argued as gamers forever is that games are so much more compelling than, in my case, and why I go to them more often than I do just sitting down and watching, classically the YouTube. Because it's interactive, right? I'm able to make decisions, make changes, stuff like that. Well, a show has to really grab my attention for me to just sit there and be like, bam, got it. Otherwise, I'm much more likely to play a game and do something that I will be a part of.
No. I think the only reason I ever just watch a TV show is I'm told to by somebody else. Like I'm forced to. I'm strong-armed into it. If I have my own choice, I will be playing video games instead. I might watch TV alongside it, but even then it's pretty rare, right? I don't tend to watch films or anything. So the last article I'll quickly touch on before we finish. Bungie director addresses the future of Destiny, since we were just talking about what's going to happen. I feel it's appropriate. Destiny franchise director Luke Smith has made clear that Bungie's future lies with the sci-fi shooter series. Following Bungie's split from its publisher, which is Activision, of course, Smith has posted on the company website thanking Activision and other development partners for their help in the series, yada, yada, yada. In the short term, Bungie's continuing to build the content we've promised for the annual pass, which is good. That's important, right? Smith acknowledges criticism of the last expansion's high power requirement, going on to say, we want to find the line between new content that many players can play and the aspirational content for players to progress towards. We're exploring improvements to catch-up mechanics for players in upcoming seasons. So that's good. That implies that they're not only they made a mistake, but they've instantly noticed it and said we will make sure to try and improve that in the future. That's a rarity in a company. I think Bungie's got quite a good track record in terms of listening to the community and producing quality content. So that's good to hear. Smith is more tight-lipped about the longer-term thinking, but makes clear that Bungie is committed to Destiny. We created the universe, and we hold its future entirely in our hands. So that's comforting to hear about a game that I just started playing as well, personally. Right. So I think everybody can agree with that. All right. I think that's the show.
It is. It is time for us to call it today. Ken, would you happily lead us out today?
You have been listening to ShowX live on VtWShowX.com and on Twitch and maybe on YouTube, but hopefully not all at the same time because that would get very confusing with all the overlapping voices.
You just turn them all on and mute one, and that way you only have the one that you're watching. That way we get our numbers up. Yeah, do that.
Bro. Get our stats up. Be sure to follow us in all these places that I just mentioned. Twitch, subscribe to us on YouTube. And be sure to like us all over the place as well. Like our links that we share. Like share our links as well. Do that too. Follow us on twitter.com/VtWShowX, twitter.com/DocDead, and twitter.com/GoX for the show. For Mr. Wayne and for myself. Go into Facebook and search for ShowX there, show space X, and you can like us. We post a lot of crap in there, memes, news, other stuff. I actually have had a couple of real life friends mention news articles, and I was like, oh, I shared that the other day, and they're like, yeah, that's where I got it from, man. I was like, oh, nice. I'm glad that the spam is actually useful to people in real life. That's nice. You be sure to subscribe to our subreddit. It's reddit.com/r/ShowX. So it's the subreddit ShowX. Just one word, ShowX. You can also help us if you don't want to do any of these other things, or you've already done that and you've maxed out all the things you can like and subscribe to and share online. You can always support us monetarily, financially, with a minimum of $1 per month. That's like half a coffee in your average restaurant, or a third if you go to Starbucks, per month. That's very little. That's a third of a coffee. You can do that by going to patreon.com/ShowX. Of course, you can always donate more than that if you so please, but or even a single one-off. You can give us $1 once, and that's also appreciated. The money doesn't go in our pockets. We don't keep it. It goes into the show itself, and it's used for buying us new microphones, software that we need, hardware that we need, servers, whatever else, right? It does not go into alcohol and coffee, sadly, even though it can be compared with those monetarily. And with that, thank you very much for having me on the show, sir. I'll be in Discord for anybody who wants to join in. I'm free for the next hour and a half, 2 hours, so I'm looking forward to some gaming.
Absolutely. I'll be in there for a little bit as well. And thank you all for listening to the show this week. Make sure you check out 24T and anything else that we post on our VtWProductions.com page. Look forward to that, and we will definitely see you again next week. So thanks, everybody, and have a good week.
Goodbye. See you next zombie.